Well, yeah, let's talk about that third-headed monster right on there. Let's talk about Josh Allen. I think when you look at what Josh has done in the games against Kansas City, he's gone into Arrowhead during the regular season twice now and come away with a victory. That's not an easy place to play. Now, in the playoffs, things didn't work out as well, but I think when you look at what Josh can do, and with the game on the line, there's no question that Josh Allen is going to lead his team down the field and score a touchdown. And I think the only time that you really question things is, does he leave too much time for the other team? The biggest blip on the radar really is the 13-second game in the championship game when, look, he found Gabe Davis in the back of the end zone for an unbelievable throw, touchdown catch. And you think the Bills, that's it, they're on their way. And then all of a sudden he just kind of gets blindsided by that 13-second two-play sequence by the Chiefs. So I look at Josh Allen, and physically, I think he's definitely more physical as a running quarterback than both those guys. But physically, I feel like he's a little bit more intimidating than Mahomes and Burrow just because of how big he is, how physical he is, and how fast he is.
Physically a little more intimidating. What do the numbers say, though? If you take a look at biggest rival, I would go Joe Burrow in terms of, again, we know what Mahomes has done. He's the one that's holding the trophy, right? And we need something to talk about and who's coming after him. But Joe Burrow's right up there over the last 3 seasons, tied there with Tom Brady. And again, I know we're splitting hairs of Joe Burrow's got 5 and Josh Allen has 4. I want to go back to what Jamar said, because what do we expect? We put these guys in front of a locker, and do you really expect, though, Jamar Chase to go, yeah, Patrick, I mean, these guys always are going to defend their guy. You know that, Sean. So, and then we blow it up. We're going to blow it up either way, right? So if he had stood at his locker and said, Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL, that might have even blown up bigger than if he defended his own quarterback. So I do think that there's, we sit here and go, oh, he's crazy. We saw Tyreek go to Miami and say Tua is the most accurate quarterback, and we had a fit. I think those guys are always going to defend their guys. Here's an interesting thing on Joe Burrow, or as it pertains to his franchise. 5 playoff wins in 52 seasons without Joe Burrow there for the Bengals. 5 playoff wins, 52 seasons. And then Joe Burrow gets there, 5 playoff wins in 3 seasons. That is what he has meant to this organization. But we were talking about it earlier on the show. You can be good. You can be good for a decade. You got to be hoisting that trophy to get the respect that Mahomes is getting, and deservedly so. I
agree with that. I agree with the Jamar Chase. What do you expect him to say? Yeah. My favorite part of it, though, is his body language and his demeanor. Like, he's so sure. He's so locked in on the fact that my guy is the best guy.
He has to be.
That's the best part. That's what makes that sound, and that's what I think drew a reaction from Patrick Mahomes and a bunch of other people out there. Now, I go back to 2006, Sean O'Hara, Week 1, Giants-Colts. Peyton versus Eli, right? Yeah. And I remember the conversation as we're talking to Eli all week long was, I'm not playing Peyton. I'm playing the Indianapolis Colts defense, right? So when you talk about biggest rival, we could say, oh, this quarterback, that quarterback. I can even go to the NFC and say Jalen Hurts, and maybe these two will meet on the big stage once again. But for a fact, I know that Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs are going to have to go up against the teams in their division coming up. And Sean Payton arriving in the AFC West, I think, makes the Denver Broncos a legitimate, formidable rival for Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City. Now, that's an offensive coach. We can go back to he's not facing Sean Payton's team. But this is a guy that's going to have that team ready to play. I have no idea if Russell Wilson is going to be part of it, but I know that Sean Payton was a successful head coach year in and year out for the New Orleans Saints, and I know that that's going to be the case in Denver, and I know that that's a team that they are going to see year in and year out because they're in the same division, and I got a feeling that Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos are going to go into Arrowhead over the next couple of years and win some of these games against the Kansas City Chiefs. So I think this is setting up to be a nice rivalry. Again, I don't know who the quarterback's going to wind up being there over the long haul, but I do know that coach is in there to set up that team to be competitive.
Brandon Staley and Justin Herbert have given the Chiefs some trouble, too. Yeah. Can't overlook them in this division. I would say this, and this is something I've said many times, so the aggregators can skip the transcription on this one. Patrick Mahomes might be the greatest player we've ever seen in the NFL. And that is no disrespect to any other players who came before. It's not disrespect to anybody who's in the game now. To me, Patrick Mahomes' biggest rival over the next 5 years, over the rest of his career, is Tom Brady. And what I mean by that is Patrick Mahomes is chasing legacy. He is chasing history. He is still 27 years old. They both won at that age, about 80% of their games. Look at the passing touchdown numbers. Patrick Mahomes, 227, Brady, 108. Mahomes won 2 MVPs. Brady had 3 Super Bowl wins, but as you guys know, the defense in New England was a big part of those early Super Bowls, and then it was in those later years, as you got into 2007, then the later Super Bowl runs, where Tom Brady really became Tom Brady, one of the greatest winners we've ever seen. Patrick Mahomes is one of the rarest players, one of the rarest athletes we've ever seen at that position. Again, no disrespect to Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, any of the great young up-and-coming quarterbacks within the league. The only thing that's in front of Patrick Mahomes right now is Patrick Mahomes and how far he can push himself, how big he can win. Can he push it to the point that we're talking about him in the same breath as Tom Brady? To me, he's probably the greatest player I've ever seen in my 20 years covering the NFL and 40-plus years watching the NFL. And if he can continue on this path, he's going to accomplish things we've never seen before.
Here's a question that goes back to what you were talking about when you said, would you rather win a Super Bowl and be bad for 9 years or just be good and consistent? If Mahomes' numbers trend the way that they are right now, when you look at the discrepancy between Tom and him in the personal stats, like let's just say his numbers blow Brady's out of the water when all is said and done, but if he doesn't match it ring for ring, does it matter?
Well, and Patrick Mahomes has another, 10, 15 years left that he's going to play in the NFL. If he doesn't win another Super Bowl, of course we're going to look at it as, well, what happened? And I can't even envision a world where Patrick Mahomes doesn't win another Super Bowl or 2 or 3 or whatever the number ends up being in Kansas City, because that's how good he is.
But if it's 5, which is a lot.
Tom Brady went a decade between Super Bowls after those first 3, which, again, were driven a lot by the defense. It was a completely different cast of characters. They had the unbeaten season in 2007 before, something happened to him at the end there. But they went a long time, and there was a lot of that talk about the legacy of Tom Brady. Well, what happens? He comes back and wins 3 more in New England, goes and wins 1 in Tampa as well, solidifying his place. With Patrick Mahomes, we'll see. That the cast is going to evolve, right? Travis Kelce's not going to play forever. He's in his early 30s now. Tyreek already moved on. You're seeing the defense evolving. Frank Clark's moving on. So you're going to have this transition. But the constant here is going to be Patrick Mahomes for as long as the two of them decide to stay together. I don't see how he doesn't win more Super Bowls. I don't see how he doesn't win more MVPs. And that's the challenge to every other quarterback in the league, every other team in the league, which is you need to find a way to get through him, and that's going to be the story in the NFL for the next decade.
Sarah, you're right. His biggest rival might be Father Time, because that was what Tom Brady was up against.
Yeah.
And he did a great job from a longevity standpoint.
And he plays a very different way.
He found a way to not take the punishment, get rid of the football. That's something Mahomes is going to have to adapt to and adopt to his game in order to have that longevity.